I've come back to Timor-Leste after 10 years. I was here in 2002. It's a very different country, very different country. I had the privilege, I suppose, of going up to Amera, which is the coffee district up there. Driving on the way up there's people walking up the hill to go and vote. And some of them probably would walk for a couple of hours to get there. At the polling station up there was an intense interest in what was going on. When it came to the count, there would have been probably 30 or 40 people crammed into the room. In addition to that, sitting up on the bank alongside it was probably another 70 or 80 people looking through the windows, watching every vote counted with absolute scrupulousness. Spent a bit of time talking to the police officer up there, local fellow. He's got 4 kids, was in the Boy Scouts, and they were sitting 25 metres away, which is what was required by the thing. So they were sitting in the sun all day because that was the closest they could actually get to the shade, was way out on this piece of concrete, way beyond the thing. And he was absolutely proud of the fact that this was no problem, no drunks, no nothing. And he was contrasting it with the situation in 2007 when there had been all sorts of trouble up there at Botatati, where we were up in the mountains. Incredibly impressive process. I mean, I've scrutineered at Australian elections, and it's hard to get scrutineers. So the ballot boxes get opened, and there's probably 2 people there. By contrast, up there at Botatati, there was basically 80 or 90 people, absolutely kind of fixated on what was happening there.
I moved from a couple of booths and polling stations, and I went to Bidoosh, and Nay was worried about that one because it's a bit of a dodgy place at night. So I went there at 11 o'clock in the day, and all of the observers from the Fiscays, they were friendly and everything like that. But when Ron and I turned up at about 10 to 3 for the count, they kind of all jumped when we walked in, so I don't know what that was about.
I was in Timor in the 2007 election, and it's wonderful to come back for this election and to be an observer again, and to see how much how calmer it is, how efficient the STAE is in running the election. Last time they had a great deal of help from the UN. And I think in particular it was just wonderful this time to see the Timorese people across the parties working so well together to make sure that the voting went really smoothly. There was no intimidation that I saw, there was no aggression. Everything worked effectively and efficiently, and so that for me was really pleasing because in 2007 it was quite different. And I just in particularly want to mention just how the Fretland scrutineers, the whole cadre force worked so well, and it was young people doing a really effective job. And even when the count was on and clearly Fretland was losing in our polling centre, everyone stayed calm, everyone just stayed in a good humour, and they even congratulated the other opposition people. So, you know, I think I was really impressed, and I think Fretland should feel really proud that they've come back so well. And really maintain that principle that Alkatiri promotes for the last 5 years, that Timor needs to build the democracy through peace, and I think that really came through for me at this election.
I was observing in a booth all day in the Dili outskirts, and I think what Chris said is right about the atmosphere. One thing that really struck me was that when the ballot boxes closed, it took them about an hour to sort the ballot papers before they actually started counting, and then another couple of hours to count the ballot papers by parties. During that process, there was something like 20 observers inside the schoolroom where the vote was being counted, all behaving very well, noting it all down meticulously. And in addition to that, outside there were like 50 or 70 people watching for all of that time, even though it was quite hot. Some of whom had been there for quite a while. They were watching the count in a very interested way for the whole of that time. And I thought it was pretty impressive. And I can't imagine that happening in Australia in scrutineering. So that was very impressive, I think. The other thing is that the police where I was stationed kept well away. They were there all day, but there was no. They didn't come anywhere near the polling booth, and I saw no evidence of intimidation by anyone in the whole of the schoolyard. What happened outside, I don't know, but that was quite impressive.
Well, I was part of the group that went up to Emera, the coffee growing district, and I think we drew the lucky straw. It was a fantastic experience, beautiful country, and I've got to give a lot of thanks to our driver, Juvie, who managed to get us up there and back safely. We covered 3 booths during the day, and that meant a lot of driving on very, very bad roads for Juvie to get us around. I would only echo what other people said about what the process was all about. It was very, very peaceful. Everybody was involved in it. When I first arrived at Homboy, there was maybe 300 or 400 people out there patiently waiting, watching the process. A great atmosphere, and you couldn't really detect that there were different groupings in the community. People weren't wearing their colours or arguing political points of view publicly. They treated their vote very seriously, and that went all day long. But it was a great experience.